Today we're going to be talking about this book, P. Craig Russell's Solame and Other Stories. Here is the fine art edition. I don't believe these were sold in retails. They were more like a Kickstarter or some kind of crowdfunding project. Here's the spine. I actually got this on the secondary market. P. Craig Russell Solame and Other Stories, fine art edition. And then here's the back. Here's the artwork on the back. Then we're going to review this, look at the artwork, and then see what P. Craig Russell does. I'm just going to call him Russell, just to make it easier. Before we talk about that, I want to promote some of my own work. Here's a project I worked on, Justice League Unlimited, Time After Time for DC Comics. It's in comic book stores near you. You can order it on Amazon, and then I'll add links below my video description. So if you want to order the same book, you can order it, and then anything you order, I get a little bit of a commission from it. So let me show you the page where it has my name. Let me see if I can find it right over here. Castle Perius. Here we go, right there. Walden Wong inker, and then here's the book. Justice League Unlimited. So check that out. Links below the video description, and you can order it. So we're going to take a look at this book, Solame and Other Stories. I'm going to turn the page and look on the inside. Here's the inside front cover. Okay. And then we're going to go to the next page. Nice white page. You can get autographs, a sketch or whatever. P. Craig Russell. I haven't met Mr. Russell ever at any convention, so I haven't yet to meet him in person. Maybe soon in the future. And here's that same image. That's all colored up. Looks like watercolors on top. And here's the description. This special fine art edition reproduces P. Craig Russell's original art. While appearing to be in black and white, each page has been scanned in color to recreate as closely as possible the experience of viewing and actual originals, including blue pencils, notes, art corrections, and more. Pages are also reproduced at original size on heavy paper stock to provide fans, aficionados, and collectors with the best possible reproduction. So if you can imagine, if this is a pocket-sized book, not the same size as a regular comic book is about, let's see, it's about this size right here. This is about a regular comic book size, and that's how big this fine art edition is. Okay. So the contents, these are all the pages, and I believe these are the different books that he worked on. When growing up, I didn't actually find all of Mr. Russell's work, but I do admire his work. Here's this Solame. You can pause the video and read it. We're going to move forward with the rest of the book. These are larger art editions. I'm going to go to the first page. Here we go. P. Craig Russell Solame. I believe when Mr. Russell worked on his projects, he draws it, inks it, and then some of these letters he also provide these on his own. Let's take a look in the front to see if it was a different letterer or if it's the same letterer. So the lettering is only done for clowns. Clowns, that's this one right here, and also Eden, I guess it's this one, okay, in whatever that is, okay, Hilden Tram, okay, and then Solomon, okay, so it's Ken Bruiser also did the lettering on that one. So Ken did the lettering. I don't know about the large lettering or the small lettering. So let's go and look at the artwork. So these artwork, these artist editions and fine art editions are scans of the original art, all in its raw format. So that means anything that there's pencil that's not completely erased is still there. Some of the blue colors. Before everything is colored in on the computer, this is how it looks like on the original art, and this is the size. So this is my hand, and you can see how large the artwork is. Okay, some of these are Zibatones that Mr. Russell is using. And then right here, let me zoom back a little bit. I see a little bit of notes that he makes to himself, or he'll do some sketches before he draws the character in. Okay, and then here's this page, some corrections over here. The reason some of these are a little bit yellow is because glue stick was used, or some kind of spray adhesive was sprayed on the Zibbatone. Zibbatone is where artists can go to an art store and buy these plastic sheets, these clear translucent sheets with dot patterns on it. What they do is they'll stick that pattern on top of the area that they want to stick it, and then use an X-Acto knife and just cut around it and then just peel that area off. Okay, it looks like this was hand lettered, and this was lettered on a computer and then pasted on with a piece of tape. I can tell with the original, with the scan, nice scans on here. Like if you look here, you can see that this one is a little bit whiter, and this one's a hand lettered. And then you can see some lines around here, which is a cut and paste thing over there. Okay, we're gonna look at the rest of the volume. Okay, let me see how many pages. There's quite a few pages here, so I move a little bit faster. So if you want to read this, I believe there's full stories of each of these issues over here. Let's see how many issues are in this book. It seems like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 short stories. So if you wanted to read this, just pause the video and read it. Let me go by a little bit quicker and just talk about the artwork. Okay, nice foreground and background elements in the way story is told. Nice use of tones. If this was scanned like today, even though if there's a little bit of yellow, if you scan it in today in color, you can still knock out the yellow. So if they one day wanted to use original art to reproduce this and to make the comic book in black and white in color, all of that yellow stuff can be removed in Photoshop. Okay, here's a lot of gray tones. Artwork was drawn first. After it was drawn, then a big sheet was pasted on top and cut around it. Look at the shadow rendering, a very minimal of hatch lines just to get a point across. Okay, I'm gonna go to this page. Okay, the red over here, we can tell that there's like some kind of originally this character was yelling. You see all these little triangular lines around the word balloons, that's like yelling. Later on they decided to get rid of it, so I see whiteout. They used whiteout to cover all those triangular yelling line and just made it a regular word balloon, so it's not yelling. I like how Mr. Russell used negative space to draw this hat, this hoodie over there. So you don't really see the whole outline on the outside, but the viewer's eyes just completes that image. Okay, take a look at the next page. Okay, more, is that the stat of that previous one that we saw, that big cage? No, different, is it? Yeah, it's different. Okay, good. A lot of gray tones to show that it's really close to the viewer. And a close-up shot. This kind of reminds me of Doctor Strange window in the apartment that he lives in. Doctor Strange. If you're a fan of Doctor Strange and that kind of looks like it, please comment down below. So, for those of you who land on my channel and just looking at P. Craig Russell's work, let me tell you a little bit about me. My name is Walden Wong. I'm a comic book artist for Marvel Comics, DC Comics, Image, Dark Horse. I've done work for Viz Media, Disney Adventures, and many, many more. Tom Frontline Productions, Top Cow, all those publishers from Image. Okay. Here we go. And if you want to see more information about my work, you can check out my website, waldenwongart.com. All one word, no spaces, waldenwongart.com. And you can see my videos there, my blog, news, what new products that I've worked on that's coming out. You can also order some original art that's also the same as these 11 by 17 size, shipped to your door. You can also order prints that I worked on, also shipped to your door, so check that out. And as well as commissions, or contact me to work on some of the commission pieces for you. So if you have artwork that you need to be inked, I can ink those. If you wanted me to draw something in pencil and I will ink that, I can also ink it and color it and so forth. Okay, we're gonna move on to some of these pages. So a lot of word heavy. Okay, so that tells me that Craig Russell is letting the letter first before it's inked on top, before the artwork's inked. Okay. Nice tones over here. I enjoy looking at artwork before it's colored, because a lot of times when things are colored, you lose some of the details. Like for example, the cross hatching over here, the cross hatching lines, and some of the textures over here, some of these little bump lines, especially how these taper lines is on the hair right here. These are nicely closed up. This image looks familiar. I believe was that the image right here. That's the cover image right over here. Okay, interesting what is chosen for the cover. Sometimes the designer would choose it, or maybe the artist would choose it himself. This is a nice image here. This is nicely drawn. Okay, so there are some tones which kind of hide some of the line work in there, but without that tone, it looks really, really good. Okay, here's the face. I really like how Mr. Russell closes up his taper lines, and also when he draws hair, everything flows nicely and there's no lines that crisscross. Okay, we're gonna look at the next page. Okay, like a big block. This was probably easy to do. Okay, just drawing these lines, drawing this line, put zipper tone. That probably took a good, I would say, 20 minutes to cut around. Okay, and then filling this in black. This will probably take 5 minutes to fill in. So being an artist myself, I can look at artwork and kind of figure out how long it takes an artist to finish some of the pieces. Like for example, this probably took longer to finish than this, even though there's a face there. You see some of the pencil lines over here. We're gonna look at the next page. And this is the end of Solame, right over here. And then we have the next story is Clowns. I will bring this up closer to the camera. So if you wanted to read it, pause the video and you can read it. Clowns. And then we're going to move forward and look at Clowns. Ooh, very nice vanishing point. Looks like Mr. Russell is giving up on all those gray tone cutting and doing gray washes here. So this isn't using zipper tone anymore. He's using brush and a mixture of ink to place the colors, like the gray tones in there. Yeah, so it looks like all of this here is, actually, you know what? There is, let's take a closer look at this page here. There are tones here, tones and gray wash. So that tells me that Mr. Russell drew all this, lettered all this, and then he did all the gray tones. After the gray tones was done, he didn't really like the way it looked because it's kind of chunky or whatever. He decided to just paste a little zipper tone on top and then cut around it. That's a lot of work to do this panel. That's a lot of work. Yeah, editor Scott Alley, publisher Mike Richardson. So this original story was published by Dark Horse Comics. Mike Richardson is the publisher of Dark Horse. Scott Alley is one of the editors in Dark Horse. He's also the editor of Hellboy, which some of you may know. Okay, we're going to take a look at some of these other pages. So I wonder if this was colored or if this book was all done in black and white. Because if it's colored, you really don't need to do all these tones. So this book could be black and white. If you have this story or if you read it, please comment down below and let me know if this story was printed in black and white like this or if it was printed in color. Okay, right here. Okay, lettering, and then there's artwork around the letters. This is interesting. If Russell did this himself and he lettered himself, I understand how he's able to do this. But if he was working with a letterer, the letterer may be able to skip that because there's artwork that's sent to the letterer and back and forth. These weren't lettered on a computer. These were lettered by hand. So Mr. Russell will have to pencil everything in first. When he's done, send it to the letterer. The letterer letters it, and he would send it back to the Mr. Russell, who would ink on top of it. Yeah, unless Mr. Russell is doing all the word balloon placement himself, then he would be sending it back and forth. Okay, most of the times a letter, not only do they put in the letters, they also draw in the tails and these circles and so forth. Okay, here's this one. I do like the gray tones over here. Most of the gray tones, they have a lot of shadows, but not so much light source. Like if I was painting gray tones, I would think about where the light source is coming from. Looks like light source is coming from here. This area should be a little bit brighter, and this area darker where there's a shadow. Same with over here. Not a lot of dark areas. I mean, not a lot of light areas. A lot of dark areas, but no light source. We can see the light source on the black and white inks, but on the gray tones, there's really none over there. Okay, we're gonna look at next panel. Oh, I really like what Mr. Russell did over here. He's drawing everything in black and white, and then when it gets to the cloud, he's not drawing it with black and white. Now he's not dipping the ink completely. He's doing a gray wash, like the gray tones, and then he's using the gray wash water to ink in the lines. This is clever work over here. Yeah, this is very clever. He's controlling how dark he wants the ink to be by applying more ink and less water, or less water and more ink, and creating the different tones. I'm going to bring this up closer to the camera so everyone can see how amazing that looks. Okay, see the different colored, different tones, different black values. And then he's inking the lines with a brush. Okay, I'm going to go to the next page. We have these birds over here. Okay, good, nice use of gray tones. Yeah, so, oh, look at this checkerboard pattern over here, this crosshatch pattern with the gray tones. So he's incorporating what he knows from pen and ink line work, and then doing that with the tones as well. That's really nice. Some of these tones, it just kind of like doesn't overlap the panels that well. I would have used a post-it note, just attach a post-it note here and attach another post-it note here, and then have those tones go all the way. That way you won't have these lines that just stops right with nothing happening over there. Okay, we're gonna look at the next page. Yeah, so there's black and white taper lines, and then there's cross hatch lines on top of that. I would have gone here and made some of those lines a little bit sharper. Like these, the black and white lines here are done nicely, but the tones here, they're kind of like not sharp. Okay, there's tones over here. I wonder if he's using a tonal paper to do the work. He may be using tonal paper. Let me explain what tonal paper is. Back in the day, for example, like when Kevin Eastman, the creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he would draw on board that has a whiteboard that has some kind of crisscross film on top of it. After drawing it, if you apply water in one direction with some kind of solution, it will create a line pattern. But if you apply another solution going in a different direction, you will get a crosshatch pattern. Those paper, I don't know if they still sell it these days, but those are like a tonal paper that you can create zipper tones without actually cutting paper tones, zipper tones on top of it. Okay. Good use of shadows on the anatomy of the figure over here. So not everything needs to be drawn in with pens, like pen and ink, but he can also go in there and do the brush work, which is a little bit faster. We have some light source here, which is better. Light source here, missing light source over there. Okay, what could have been done was use whiteout to add some of those tones. But I do understand how it's a little bit harder with the gray tones. You can do a little bit of a medium value, but if you put a white out there, it's going to stand out. Okay. Yeah, he is using tonal paper. I can tell he's not cutting these. So these little dots here that has like a zigzag pattern, the zip tone pattern, he is just applying a solution. Here's this panel. All the clowns. Really nice, thick, bold outlines. There's some. So he penciled all of this in first, and then he watercolored, painted on top of this. Okay, very nice. These days with Photoshop, especially if I was doing artwork that has a mirror image that repeats itself, I would just ink in one panel and then crop that page and then flop it over and do some transforming and then distorting just to make that same image. But this is nice that he's doing it, repeating that image over there. Okay, next page, lots of details. This one panel took longer to do than the whole page because of the amount of characters that are in there. Inking something like this will take a long time because if you're thinking about line waste, which Mr. Russell is definitely doing, he's spending a lot of time on this one panel. This is a very nice panel over here. Well, I like how he did the taper lines crossing over those strings over there. It continues flowing. I'm going to bring this over closer to the camera so everyone can see a little better. You see how those taper lines, those almost like these little small triangles, is going underneath the that wire, that drum wire. That's nicely done. A little bit kind of sloppy over there, but it still looks good. When I say sloppy, it's because this one is thicker and this one is thinner. What I would have done, Mr. Russell, was I would taper in all those lines, ignoring that line there, taper all that in, and then I would use a gel pen to just white it out on top. So that way, every one of these taper lines are consistent. That's what I would do. Okay, we're gonna take a look at some of the other pages. Really nice gray tones. Kind of reminds me of Dave Gibbons' work. If some of you have seen Dave Gibbons, he's an artist on Watchmen and many other. Martha Washington with Frank Miller, the project he worked on. But he's most famous for Watchmen. Some of these hatch lines around the face, it reminds me of Dave Gibbons' work. Okay, here's this one. Okay, it's interesting how there's kind of this smudge line on the side. I think that's probably oils from people's fingers when they're flipping the artwork on the original artwork. That's why there's that happening. Okay, we're gonna look at the next page. I do like this gray tone. I made another video, an art edition, where P. Russell is doing his work. Most of it is in pen and ink, so not that much gray tone. So seeing gray tones, I like that, the shadows on the background right over here. Okay, here it is. So this video that you're watching is a series of my art edition videos that I'm recording, filming, and then posting up here on YouTube. If you enjoy these videos, especially this kind of videos, please hit like and share the video. And also comment down below so I can make more. I also have other videos where I do art review and critiques of other artists' work. Okay, let me show you the Godfathers Code. I'm going to bring this closer to the camera, so if you want to read that, pause the video and read it. Okay, I'm going to continue moving forward. Yeah, so I would get, I have a Patreon page, patreon.com/WaldenWongArt. If you enjoy these videos and you'd like to show some support, go head on over to my Patreon page. Again, it's all one word, www.patreon.com/WaldenWongArt. And over there, you can show support with different tiers. And if you're an artist and you're looking for mentorship from a veteran who's been doing comic books like myself for over 20 years, you can sign up for some mentorship tiers. What you do is you draw artwork that's the size. If you don't have artwork on my Patreon, I'll also show you how to create artwork this size, how to download files for you to work on. If you want a pencil, there's scripts for you to work on. If you want to ink, there's pencil files, high resolution pencil files that you can download and create blue lines to ink over. If you want to color, just high resolution ink files that you can color. And then once you're done, I will look over your work and I will make a art review and critique video. So if you look at some of my other videos, you'll see some of the art review and critique videos. Okay, so here we're moving on to this story where it doesn't seem like it was lettered by hand. So that means everything was written down by P. Russell. And okay, so here, seeing these word balloons, that tells me that Mr. Russell is actually drawing these word balloons as he's doing the artwork. So he's not having the letterer draw the word balloons. Like, so these ones on the front, that tells me that he would draw these word balloons and another letterer would go in there and letter around it, which is a little bit more challenging for the letterer because they need to fit everything in the right size. This right here, this artwork could have been all drawn in because Mr. Russell also knows how to letter himself as well. And then once he was done, instead of him taking the time to letter it, it was scanned, and then the files were sent to the letterer who would letter it digitally on the computer. So everything is there, and they're just actually copying the script and then pasting it over. They're not actually reading the words and typing it at the same time. Most comics these days, they have a script, and then letters would just take the script, they would copy the words, and then after copying the words, they would just paste it onto the word balloon. And then they would use like this thing that just shapes it into the right size in the word balloon and just fit it in there. That's called kerning. If they're adjusting lines to fit it in there to make it fit in the bubble, that's called kerning. K-E-R-N-I-N-G, kerning. A letter's job to work in comics is to be able to have the letters flow nicely, have it be clear and precise, and have the special effects for the right characters and at the right time, and also at the same time being able to morph special effects. Like if they need to say, if there's a word that says boom that runs across here, you want to make sure you're able to use Photoshop to like adjust it and drag it around. So this artwork here, everything is in pencil. I wonder if this was a project that was never done, or it was drawn in pencil and maybe inked digitally on a computer. Or maybe it was colored directly from pencils, because we do see artwork that are colored directly from pencils. So originally this circle was drawn here, and then there's a little bit of that pencil there, and then they just inked the tail. Sometimes letters, I've seen letters that would just draw the whole circle and then figure out where to draw the tail. This part here, this little triangle part, this triangle part right here, this is called the tail. Okay, want to go to the next page. Okay, very, very clean line work. Looks like the way Mr. Russell inks his work is the same way as if he was penciling his work. He draws very precise. Yeah, so in some cases, readers will probably think, why not just draw in pencil just like this and then scan it and then adjust the contrast and then use that. Sometimes if we're creating artwork, the comic book industry, when we're creating artwork, doing that, it'll pick up some of the dirt, like the eraser shavings and some of the pencils that's not erased, and then you'll see that in the published comic book. So it's stuff that's inked, it will be clearer. I like how he uses this different tones for the hat. Okay, so it's all pencil, and then instead of using all these are drawn in pencil, but here this is a gray wash. He will just go in there, and then he will just start using different tones to color all of that in, paint all of that in. And when did he start doing that? Looks like in the beginning he would just draw everything in pencil. So this is so there's a little bit of a grays over there, the gray tone wash over there, as well as here. But here he's starting to take advantage of that. Lighter gray tones, lighter, different textures, darker. He's looking at different values, foreground a little bit darker, background a little bit lighter. Same thing with here. This character is much darker. The character on the right is a little bit lighter in tonal value. And then the background leaves on the top left, that is a lighter tone. And then we have the background. That shows depth in the artwork. Go to this page. Some toning over here. Now, this image, this paper here is kind of a yellowish. I don't know what kind of Bristol board he's using. The white is actually very clean, but the original artwork, it could be over time, the papers just got dirty or started fading, or some of the pencil smudge, the pencils. You can see that on the side here, there's a little bit of a gray pencil. So that's just drawing, and then there's pencils that's picked up from the bottom of your hand, and then you're just smudging it. That's easily erased. It can be erased. Okay, here's this panel. Very, very clean lines. Very, very precise pencil drawings. I've worked with artists in the comic book industry, being able to work with Marvel and DC before. I've worked with other pencilers where their artwork isn't as clean. It leaves a lot of interpretation for the inker to go in there and do finishes and fix up and tighten up some of the artwork here. But Mr. Russell's line work is very, very sharp, precise, and clean. I like how he's using the side of his pencil to make certain lines thicker. Yeah, I could see the speed that he's drawing those lines, and lines that he's more focused on. Right here. Very nice work. Sketch lines that he would draw, and then after drawing the sketch lines, he would draw those wiggle lines right around here. Look how precise these glass bottles are. Let me see if he use these are freehand. He has a very steady hand. I'm looking to see if he used templates, but I see that these are freehand. There's a little bit of wobble, but it's still very precise. Yeah, there's a little bit of wobble, but everything is still precise. So he's drawing this friend. This one he used a template. This one's freehand here, and this one's freehand there. So you're probably questioning, how am I able to see all of this? I've been an artist all my life, ever since I was like in kindergarten class, and I'm a fully grown adult doing comic books full time. Seeing lines and working in an industry that makes me see all these lines before I start inking, I can see what approach an artist took to do the work. Okay, onto this world. This is the next storyline. I'm gonna bring this closer. So for those of you who want to read it, feel free to pause the video now. And then we're gonna move on and then continue on with the rest of this. Okay, we're gonna go to the next page. Ooh, look at this. Onto this world. There's a color page. So Mr. Russell is drawing everything and coloring everything in with color pencils. Kind of hard to see compared to the black and white. The color is all kind of muddy. I don't know if he did that for the rest of the book. Looks like it's just 3 pages, which is a good idea. It's a lot of work to color in color pencils. See, why did he do that? See, does it say anything about? Okay, anyway, it's hard to see. Like if this was printed, it's all yellowish and really hard to see. It's like looking at an old newspaper print, and the colors are kind of faded. But I do like the line quality that he's putting into the coloring. Oh, look how nice these figures are over here. Okay, here's this one, which I had a hard time pronouncing. In Heldentrauma. Let me try that again. Especially this font is so hard to read. Heldentraum. Okay, if you know how to pronounce this, please comment down below on the video. Okay, if you want to read more about what this is, pause the video now. And then we're gonna move forward to the next page. And then we're back to clean black and white line work. Lettering by Bill Pearson. In Random W. Wood, probably Wally Wood. Script Patrick Mason. Art P. Craig Russell. Okay. Nice. I like art. I really like looking at artwork like this. Like the black and white, the boldness of the lines, the direction the artist went, and how thin these lines are. How an artist is able to draw smooth arc lines. If you use a template, let's take a look at these lines. These are freehand. These are drawn freehand. I could tell. Okay, even the straight lines are freehand. He probably used a ruler to draw everything with a ruler first, and then he went in there and freehand art lines to give it a little bit of an organic look. Okay, next one. I remember one of the artists that I work with, his name is Arthur Adams. When I would draw backgrounds for him, he also likes having that organic look on some of his background lines. This here was used, let me take a closer look at that spear. Was that freehand or was that with a ruler? That's freehand. Look how straight that line is. Sometimes I'll look at it in an angle to see if it's straight like that. When we're looking at that spear right there, it's very, very straight, very, very precise. He has a very steady hand when he's doing artwork. Very steady hand. Okay, very, very nice. A lot of intricate details in his work. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next page. I like how his artwork looks so iconic, the way he draws. This kind of has a Tim Bradstreet feel. For those of you who don't know who Tim Bradstreet is, he's one of the artists that would take pictures. He would go out there and take pictures of people dressed in a costume. Like, he's one of the artists that did a lot of covers for The Punisher, if you know what I'm talking about. Comment down below if you know what I'm talking about. And also what other covers that Tim Bradstreet did. He would take photos of people in costume and then bring that home and then ink that up on vellum paper, tracing paper. Between Two Worlds. Here are this, if you want to read it, pause the video. Okay, we're going to continue moving on. We're almost coming up. This seems to be the end of the book. Maybe between two rows, just a few pages, a couple of pages, or here it is. This doesn't look like the scan of the original art. Or maybe it is. There's a little bit of yellowing. I wonder why it's not 11 by 17. It's not really longer. It's more like a rectangle shape over there. And then we have the last page here. I'm going to bring this in closer, since they're also compact. So if you wanted to read it, feel free to pause the video, read this. Okay, there's one, pause. And then here's the next one. And then we're gonna move on to that last page of that 3-page story. Again, here it is. Take another look. Okay, and then we have this one. Above, a Solame-inspired painting from 2010, adapted for comics by P. Craig Russell. Looks like watercolor paintings as well as color pencils. I wonder if you use color pencils, watercolor pencils. No, it looks like color pencils and watercolor. So it's mixed media over the original pen and ink work up there. We'll go to the next page. So this is the, looks like, is that the same artwork? Nope, this is a new artwork. They look the same. I'm looking at the fingers. The fingers are drawn differently. So he's drawn this a couple of times. Let's take a look at some of the patterns. Yeah, you see that necklace there? That necklace is here, but it's not showing up there. So he redrew it. One for paint, one for coloring, and then one with more details on the shawl that she's wearing. Here is this part. Even he makes scribbling lines look good. A Solomon original art reward for one of our crowdfunding campaigns. Above, an artifact scan of this book's back cover art before it was digitally colored by Levarn Kinzerski. So I guess this was originally for an artwork that was sold for one of the crowdfunding campaigns. This book was a crowdfunding campaign. I didn't actually crowdfund. I bought this in the secondary market. And here's this one. A full-page example of the unique coloring process that was used for the Godfathers Code. Yeah, this is computer colors. And earlier, remember we talked about the gray values here? That was left there, and the coloring was done around here. This was in... Okay, so this was drawn in pencil and colored digitally in Photoshop. So none of this is inked. So this is what I'm talking about, everyone. When stuff is not inked and it's colored, the published artwork, you see pencil lines like this. They're kind of muddy and grayish. Even if you look at some of the faces, if you look closely, you'll see some of these scratchy lines of the pencil that's not clear. The colors could have went in there and darkened up the tones, the contrast and the levels to darken it up. He did as best as he can, but you'll still see some of that. And some lines, they're overlapping a little bit, like the hair. So comic books, when they're inked and all those extra lines that doesn't belong there is erased, it does look better. Okay, we have the last page. Here's P. Craig Russell right over there. And then you can read the description. A graduate of University of Cincinnati. Pause the video if you want to read that. Okay, and then we're coming up to the last page. The last page is this image. Is that the same image as the first page? Good. Okay, there you have it. That is Solame. P. Craig Russell, drawn in 2018. So, if you enjoyed this video, again, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Share the video. The more people that sees these, the more it helps support my channel. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out some of my other videos where I have art review and critique, as well as tutorials. I also have a podcast which I work on, and I talk about my life working in comics and how I became a professional artist and everything in between. So check that out. So until next time, have a good day, and check out my website, waldenwongart.com. Bye, everyone.